connect. Okay, right, we are live, I believe, live on YouTube. It looks as though we may have successfully connected. Let me see. Yes, Brother Jermaine, I can see you in the screen. Okay, Jermaine, we are live, my brother. So, family, sincere apologies. We had some technical difficulties setting up, but we are now live on YouTube. And as you can see, I've got Brother Jermaine in the house, and we're going to have an amazing conversation this evening. We've got our brother Kwame in the background there, who's going to be moderating. He's going to be keeping an eye on YouTube for us, so that we can have your questions posted here on our public chat. This is a new platform. I'm using it for the first time, linking it to YouTube for the first time. It's a Pan-African platform. I am absolutely delighted to be supporting this platform. So is my guest, Brother Jermaine, who you're going to be hearing from in a very short while. So sincere apologies for the late start. But as I said, it's a new platform, new technicals, a couple of hitches, so we had to rewind and come again. But we are Black, family. We are Black. Welcome to the Sister Shanice Show. New series, new format. Really excited and looking forward to interacting with you all over again. So spread the word, family. Let's get this site populated. Yeah, come on in through the door. We are rearing to go. Let me just check with my moderator that he can see us okay on YouTube. Brother Kwame, can you see us on YouTube? So we're just going to hear from Brother Kwame, and he's replied, and he said, "Ooh, not showing. So why is it that I can see myself backstage and it's not showing?" Right, let me see what's going on. It's saying that I am indeed live. So yeah, if you go onto my YouTube site and you click the live button, yes, I've just done it. Kwame, we're there. You just have to click the live button once you go on to my YouTube site and you click the live button. Yes, I've just done it. Kwame, we're there. You just unmute, Brother Kwame. All right, so great, he's just muted himself. Right, so family, because I know you can watch this live on playback, I am not going to delay. We are going to get on with the show. Now that we've overcome the technicalities and we know how to make it work, it should run smoothly for the future sessions. So I have a wonderful guest in the house. His name is Jermaine Nkrumah. He is the CEO and founder of the Diaspora Network Television in Ghana. Let me just ask him to greet you, and then I'm going to do a full introduction. Brother Jermaine.
Hello. How are you, brother, Sister Shanice?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
So far, so good. I'm delighted to be here, and I really want to thank you for inviting me. And I thank all the people that are watching all over the globe. Welcome. Hopefully, we'll have a very good conversation.
Oh, I'm sure we will, because there is just so much going on across the continent right now, especially in West Africa. And I know that as a journalist, you have been writing extensively about what's happening. You've got your ear to the ground. And so, you know, we are honored to be able to hear from you. But first of all, let me just introduce you to our audience so that they get to know who you are. So family, as I said, Brother Jermaine Nkrumah, he is the founder and CEO of the Diaspora Network Television, DNT. It's a satellite free-to-air station in Ghana, reaching television viewers across Africa. Absolutely awesome. Not only does it reach viewers in Africa, but it can reach viewers around the world as well via a mobile application. family. This is us building our own media platforms. The TV station is positioned as the mouthpiece of the African diaspora community around the world. So in the diaspora advocacy arena, Brother Jermaine Nkrumah is the original agitator of the diaspora vote, soon to become the ROPAA, from abroad for Ghanaians. His agitation that began in 2002 attracted then Deputy Electoral Commissioner Nana Safo Kanatanka. And 2 years later, then Foreign Minister Nana Adodo Dankawa Kufu Adodo, the official who played the critical role in the eventual submission of the Representation of the People Amendment Bill to Parliament. And in Nkrumah, he was the vice chairman for the 2017 Diaspora Homecoming Summit that was held in July in Accra. He's a former adjunct facility of the Houston Community College. Jermaine Nkrumah holds a master's degree in business administration with a concentration in marketing from University of Phoenix in the United States. We are privileged to have him on our platform today. Our topic for discussion is the Francophone youth pushback against neo-colonialism. Wow, wow, wow. Brother Jermaine, quite a lot of experience there. Absolutely awesome that you are the founder of this wonderful medium and platform. Please, let's hear from you some opening remarks.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me. I think that Sister Shanice, and sister, when she says sister, she means every letter of it. She's a sister. And I'm delighted to be joined here. To join you here and speak to our audience. Africa is at my heart. I know everybody can say that, but for me, it just hits me so deeply, especially when you look at the diaspora angle and what the diaspora brings to the table. So those are two things that are most important to me: African unity and diaspora reintegration into the continent. And so for someone who obtained his Pan-African orientation at the age of 11, it stayed with me all this time, and I see nothing else but African unity. Otherwise, it's not an option. We have to unite. I see you. I'm looking at you right now from the Gambia, and here at Ghana, we could be blood siblings. You understand?
Yeah.
And we just happen to be in a different part of the continent and some borders drawn. I can't wait to see the day where all the borders come down.
Yes.
So in a nutshell, Pan-Africanism means a whole lot to me, and diaspora reintegration to the continent as well.
Oh, rise up, rise up. I too look forward to the day when Africa is indeed borderless and we can just travel from one end of Africa to the other without, having to have a visa to visit the different countries. Oh, yes, borderless, one passport, one currency. Hey, this is what we need to be moving towards. So family, as you join us, as you come into the chat, do as you used to do. Let us know where in the world you're watching us from. You can use the YouTube chat for your comments, your thoughts, etc. Alrighty, your suggestions, your ideas, they are most welcome. The topic that we're going to be discussing, and we're going over to that now, is what's going on in the western region of Africa. Wow, wow, wow. So as you all probably know, there's been a number of coup d'etats recently in Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and the West African sub-region, I believe, is sending a clear message to their former neo-colonialists. These are, of course, those former rulers of the various regions of Africa. But are times changing? Are the youth actually pushing back? Is there a new generation that's saying we're not prepared to live an impoverished life while our country's resources continues to be exploited, continues to be extracted to finance the quality of life that the foreigners are enjoying in Europe? and in the former colonial countries? Is it now that the new generation is saying that they're not prepared to tolerate this any longer? Is it now time for Pan-Africanism and all the 1.4 billion Africans on the continent, the 300 million outside of the continent to unite as never before and get behind the change and the new move that's happening? What say you, Brother Jermaine?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you the way you set it up, I don't even know how I'm going to start, but I'm going to give it a shot. Listen, in my lifetime, okay, and I've crossed the big 6-0, okay, in my lifetime, I've seen where Africans, at least when we were kids, in Tree, we used to call, say, Kwesi Bronicha Mekapre, meaning, hey, Kwesi white man, dash me a penny, all right? I'll go back and take a snapshot of that era. And you can tell that clearly, just literally a few years after independence of these countries, we saw the white man like here, and then the rest of us here. I mean, it wasn't even close. If a white man asked you jump, you said how high. You see, the disparity was enormous. But yet in my lifetime, in 6 decades, we've had a closing of the gap, okay, where you now have Black MPs, Black members of parliament in the UK. We've had a Black president in the United States. And it looks like the rest of the world, while they are still maintaining their racist disposition over Africa, they still pretty much allow us a little bit of room to operate. But when it comes to the Francophone countries, it looks like the umbilical cord is still tied to Paris, even after independence. I don't know how the French gave their independence differently from the rest of the colonizers, the Dutch, the British, the Portuguese. When they left, they pretty much said, we're gone. Govern yourself. And if you need help, we're here, okay? Yes, they still try to maintain some controls, but it's not as tight a grip as France has continued to maintain over the Francophone countries. And so, for example, Ghana can order military equipment from United States, from Germany, from elsewhere, no problem. But if you're a Francophone country, you order from France alone, okay? And so recently, when Colonel Assimi Goïta, who is the new leader of Mali, ordered 4 helicopters from Russia, along with trainees to come and train the Malian military, it was like an abomination. And France couldn't handle it, And so French President Emmanuel Macron decided to come to Mali, probably to throw his weight around, like he always does. I mean, when he comes to these French countries, they line up for him. I mean, they give him the red carpet, as they should, because he's a head of state. We get that. But there's a sort of a subtle measure of throwing his weight around, making him know that, hey, I'm here to keep you straight, okay? This time around, Colonel Assimi Goïta said, you can come here like everybody else, but I ain't gonna meet you. I don't have time. Let me check my schedule. And that also was like, what? I'm Macron, I'm coming to your country, and here you can't see me. So I'm using these 2 examples to let you know that Mali, in particular, is starting to change the dynamics. They're starting to say, dude, you've kept it down for all this time. We're going to change the relationship. And so from that angle, it is welcoming, okay? But you wish it could have been done in a civilian government arena. I mean, none of us really like military takeovers, okay? Some of us who grew up in the 60s and 70s, we saw enough of that. and we saw how curfews and soldiers roaming the streets, beating people up. Nobody wants to return to that. But if that's what it takes to finally stand up to France, then it's not such a bad thing after all.
Mm-hmm. It's not a bad thing after all, at all. Family, we're talking about the developments and what's happening in the western region of Africa. There's been a number of coups d'etats, as you know. We're looking at what's going on in the region. You know, there's been some mounting tensions, lots of talk about mounting tensions and growing concerns about across the Sahel region as well. About the expanding army presence, the militarization of the area, you know, so many foreign forces across the different countries in the region as well, you know, terrorism, all the activities that, and it seems with the increased number of foreign military in this region, there's an increase in the amount of violence and conflicts in these regions as well. High number of civilian deaths, the violence, the huge humanitarian problems, you know, crisis after crisis. And of course, you know, people are significantly impacted by all of this, adversely impacted. And, you know, as citizens of these countries, they just want, you know, an ordinary life, you know, a fair and decent, improved quality of life. I mean, my brother Jermaine, I mean, from all of the journalism work that you've been doing and the work of the journalists that report through your papers as well, I wonder if you could give us an idea of what's actually going on, you know, in the Sahel regions with all of the foreign troops on the ground. What is actually happening there?
Well, there is this school of thought that the jihadists are in cahoots with France. It's speculation. There is no proof, I admit. But when you look at the patterns, just Tuesday, 2 days ago, there was jihadist attack in a reserved national park in the north of Benin. Okay? Now, when you look at West Africa, we know the Boko Haram issue. That's a different thing. But when you talk about jihadists, right? Well, it happens in Niger, Francophone country, Benin, Francophone, Burkina Faso, Francophone, Mali, Francophone, Senegal, Francophone. Do you have jihadists coming into the Gambia? I don't know, okay? But when you look at the Gambia, which is right in Senegal, the jihadists happen in Mali, Senegal, and Guinea, but they don't happen in Guinea-Bissau, which is Portuguese. They don't happen in Sierra Leone. They don't, which is saying, I mean, Sierra Leone and Liberia have a different, and then it doesn't happen in Ghana. I mean, are you seeing the pattern here? You see what I'm saying? So France wants to be the godfather. Oh, I'm your protector. You need me, okay? And so these jihadists, if they're operating in the name of Islam, there's Islam in all these countries. Why aren't they going there? Why are they going only into the French country? Now, let me knock on wood, because having said this, maybe they are going to come in just to send a message that it's not only, I hope it doesn't happen. But as of now, these things are happening mostly in the Francophone countries. Yeah. Isn't that a worry? And then, France is also, France happens to be the one in here pretending to be defending the country, so that you need me. I'm going to protect you, so you need me in your thing. No. Mali is starting to say, no, we don't need you. We can get Russia. Guinea is saying no. Burkina Faso just joined the queue, the trend. And so I think the France grip on Francophone countries in West Africa is starting to undergo a different type of experience. And again, I hate that it takes military situations to do this, because clearly the civilian governments have not been able to do that. I mean, these civilian leaders, they love it when they get invited to Paris to go and wine and dine with Macron. These soldiers don't really care about going to Paris. You see what I mean? And so I think there's a new dynamics working. Plus, I can tell you from reporting by our DNT correspondents that the youth in the Francophone countries are absolutely livid against France because they know what France has done to them for a long time. And here I want to give credit to former AU ambassador to United States, Her Excellency Dr. Arikana Chiombo-Rikwa, because when she started talking about what France is doing to Africa in detail, I mean, a lot of us knew part of what's going on, but in detail, specific, you can't help but have your mind opened by that. And you have to wonder if that's what has lit the fire under the feet of the youth in these Francophone countries, where they now don't want to hear anything about France. Recently, there was a motorcade from Cote d'Ivoire. They were supposed to go to Niger, but they have to pass through Burkina Faso. They got into a small town called Kaya, K-A-Y-A. And the youth blocked the road, say they're not going to allow them to pass. And I mean, it became very chaotic. There were a lot of youth, and France, the soldiers have been shot, warning shots in the air. It still didn't disperse a crowd. So they launched a drone to kind of get an aerial view of the whole thing. One 13-year-old boy took a slingshot and went like, and shot the drone down. And they carried him as, so the dynamics is changing. And so I hope French President Emmanuel Macron is listening. And I hope the powers that be in France are listening so that they can now sit at the table and forge a new relationship with Francophone countries. Because definitely you can't keep your knee on the neck forever. At some point, somebody is going to die off, or they're going to rise up and kill you. So I hope it's the writing on the wall.
I certainly hope so as well. Definitely new dynamics at play here. You know, there's been too many conflicts in those regions, and I think it's too coincidental as well that, you know, it all happens to be in, or certainly the vast majority of these jihadists seem to be concentrated in the former French colonial regions as well. So, you know, that would suggest to some of us that, France, the French army, the jihadists are working very closely together. Wow. So it's clear as day now. People are seeing through, you know, the old tricks of the old former colonizers. France wanting to, you know, keep its noose closely around the necks of these former countries. Well, these countries are wanting to break loose now, and they have been severely commenting and criticizing France for the way that they have been mismanaging the situation for far too long in these regions. These terrorists have had a free reign in these regions for decades now. So I'm not surprised, and I'm sure most of us are not surprised now that finally, the young people are standing up and saying no more. And I certainly hope that France are hearing, you know, that they are saying no more. And they need to sit around the table with them and, you know, deal with them in a fair way. And if, you know, they decide, hang on a minute, we don't want your troops in our country, because what comes with having your troops in our country is war, is terrorism, is humanitarian problems. Fair enough. Take your troops out the country and allow peace to come back to the country, and then wait to be invited back around the table again should they want to invite you at the table. So, you know, there's been a number of coups d'etats in the region over recent months. There was one back last year on the 24th of May in Mali. There was a coup d'etat that we talked about in Guinea, the one we're talking about now in Burkina Faso on the 23rd of January. There was an attempted coup d'etat as well in Guinea-Bissau. So over the last few decades, clearly with the growing militarization and military presence on the continent, it's been increasing tension. It's been destabilizing the regions. There's been a lot of loss of civilian lives, humanitarian problems. And, the people in the region are just saying enough is enough. We don't want the military on our ground. And I don't blame them. Who would want to be living in an area where, there's military activities going on? Quite recently, we had the incident in Kenya, didn't we, where there was a military training that went wrong and blew up about, a 10-mile region of their prestige safari region. I mean, it's just, these sorts of military activities that have been going on unchecked for far too long. So it's about time. It's about time that they are brought under check, as far as I'm concerned. And some might even say that all of this has been a smokescreen for capitalism to continue to plunder resources and that. But we are seeing. I did see a report quite recently where it was actually pointed out that the commanders, interestingly, of these coups d'etats were all trained by the US. Are we just seeing a change of the old guard from one colonial power to the next? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the guy in Guinea was trained in France. He actually has a French wife. His wife is white from France. And the other two, I'm not sure where they trained. But I mean, what is interesting is when you historically, Guinea, Mali, remember, they were part of the Casablanca group. Okay? So they've always been very vehement against French domination in their country. Senegal, Togo, they've all been, Burkina Faso, they've all, but Guinea and Mali in particular have been very much against a French grip on them. To overthrew their governments, and they're basically having a rough relationship with France now. In the case of Mali, see, what the French does is that they'll grab the leadership and bring them to France. Their kids go to France, everything, they're enjoying the good life. So it makes them committed. It's almost like there's a certain noose around their neck when it comes to France in terms of how they can say no to France. I mean, Keita, Boubacar Keita, who is the leader of Mali that got overthrown, he appointed his son as the chairman of the security, overseeing the security in the country. And you had jihadists killing Malians. And what is this young man doing? A video surfaced of him and some French hookers on a boat. This was during the pandemic, yes. I mean, if you're in charge of security in my country and jihadists are killing us, and you are just living a life on a boat with some French hookers, that's not going to rub people very well. So they started demonstrating against him, who's the son of Keita. And by the way, when Boubacar Keita was president, you could not get anything done in Mali without going through the son. Okay? So the son was like the only conduit to his father. And so when they started protesting, demonstrating against the son, he resigned rather quickly in an attempt to douse the mountain demonstration. So after his resignation, the people said, no, your father should go also. So it became a mountain demonstration, mountain agitation, and that's what paved the way for Goita to overthrow him. So now I think it's fair to say that the old trick where France gets the leaders and their family to France to educate them so that they can be friendly and everything, all that is coming to an end, because as if we're going by what Ambassador Chirombo said, these countries deposit 85% of their foreign reserves in French bank, their own money that they have to now turn and apply to get a loan from at the going interest rate. How do you borrow your own money interest rate and somebody else? Can you imagine? We have a bank. We can keep our money in our own bank, but no, as per part of the continuation of colonization, you have to do that. And when you look at France, I don't think a video recently surfaced with a young man in a subway train. Did you see that?
Oh, I did, yes.
He's talking about, look, if you don't produce much, okay, in terms of natural resources, and you depend on our natural resources, the least you can do is be respectful. But I seem to be one to say, no, you do A, B, C, or else. Okay. Well, I think the time has changed, and more so. And let me also tell you something about the African Union. My shock is that African Union is not as dominant as it should be. The African Union Commission. I understand these 54, 55 member countries are independent countries. They run their own thing, but it shouldn't be that a war is going on in Tigray, in Ethiopia, your backyard, and you don't hear a word from the AU Commission chair. I mean, if ECOWAS is headquartered in, say, Ghana, and Ghana is on fire, I would think that the ECOWAS, the commission chair would say, nah, this is up to me to resolve it. But it's almost like the African Union Commission has turned a blind eye. And when you look at all the fire spots all across the continent, where is the African Union? Okay, do we have an African Union? Is it relevant? I mean, they put African Continental Free Trade Area in Accra, great edifice. I was actually fortunate to be invited to the launching of it. It's a great idea, but it's become symbolic because the things that need to happen for the unity to consolidate is not being done. So Ghana doesn't see the importance of trading with Gambia because nobody's driving that. They said it by mouth. You mentioned ECHO, the currency for Africa. Why aren't we even talking about that? The Europeans did that and they came out with Euro. We've been talking about African Union. Have you ever heard of any single currency? If they're working on one, you would have heard the name. I know when they were working for a single currency in West Africa, they called it an ECO. I never saw it, but at least there's a name. Have you heard anything from African Union? And so my thing is, we've got to be really serious. And I'm not, whenever you say that, it implies that the leadership of the commission is not serious. But if you sit on 34% of the resources that the world needs here in Africa, and your population is 17.5% of the world's population, and yet you account for 40% of the world's poor, that's arithmetic that nobody can solve. I mean, if they gave you that equation in college or high school, you won't be able to solve it because it doesn't make sense. And so what are we doing as a continent to come together to take advantage of our resources and make sure that, for me, that is where we should be concentrating our efforts.
Absolutely agree. This is the important next step. We've got some questions and comments in the chat, my brother. I just want to bring some of those in. And I just want to rise up everybody in the chat. Wow, wow, wow. These are changing times indeed. Okay, so welcome everybody. Glad to have you in the house. I can see we've got Tebe in the house. He's saying, great to see you back, Sister Shanice. Oh, it's wonderful to be back. Rise up, Sister Afrijamo as well. And she's rising up all of the brothers and sisters. She's watching from Ghana. And let's see what we've got. We've got Africa Reimagine, who's saying beautiful new platform, that it belongs to Africans. That's right. If you just joined us and you didn't hear me saying earlier, this platform that I'm using is called Glue VP. And it's a Pan-African platform. It's been created by Africans, first and foremost for Africans, and it's absolutely fantastic. Apologies, I did have a few technicals because I was using it for the first time, and so I came on a little late because behind the scenes I was trying to get on. But I know where I went wrong now, so hopefully I will be bang on time from next strong. We've got our wonderful, wonderful guest in the house, Brother Jermaine Nkrumah, who we're talking to at the moment, founder and also he's a journalist, he's a founder of the Diaspora Network Television in Ghana. It's a satellite-free to air TV channel that broadcasts right across Africa and around the world as well. This is Africa taking the medium by storm, taking control of our narrative. So we're talking about the situation in the western region of Africa as well, and the fact that where in most of these former French colonies, we've got the jihadists and all of these terrorist groups that are just wreaking havoc in those countries at the moment, and the people are saying enough is enough. But I've just realized on this new platform that I can see your chat as well. So bringing you in, rise up, warrior man. Good to see you in the house. We've got Paul in the house as well. Omar, welcome. He's saying greetings, family. Watching from Nairobi in Kenya. Great to have Kenya in the house as well. And Sister Africa saying, yes, Sister Shanice, we saw the Diaspora TV station last week when we were at the unveiling of the 6th African region flag in Accra. Okay, rise up, rise up. Yes, we've got a new flag. My brother Jermaine might just wave the flag, the new African Diaspora flag for us here. Yes, there it is, family. The new African Diaspora flag. Yes, we've got our own flag. Let's see what other messages we've got. Those people are figureheads, Jermaine. They're not for us. So that was a comment that was made at some point when you may have been mentioning some names. And we've got Tabibi, who says most of the African leaders are in Ethiopia for the big meeting. I hope good comes forward and the African countries unite. I certainly do as well. We'll go over to our brother Jermaine in a little while and I'll ask him to comment on the situation in Ethiopia if he doesn't mind. And Obiam is commenting on the dam resources in the ground belongs to France, for God's sake. Hey, I think that's probably written into their agreement somewhere. Rise up, Sister Afrijamo every time. Thanks for the compliment there. She's saying, that's right, my brother. We were changing the narrative. We are saying to the biological mistakes, bow down before us, the original people. We no longer need you to keep stepping on our backs. Yes, we hear you on that. And the people are saying, take your foot off our back, take your foot off of our necks, remove the noose from round our necks. We've got Coup Malange, who's saying, Akofa Dodo continues to show us over and over again that he is a puppet. Biologically, he is a descendant of those who overthrew Nkrumah. You might want to comment on that for us. my brother. So lots of messages here. Let me go over to Kwame's inbox as well. I know he had a message for us there. He said, what does France have to offer to Africa with its 66 million population and declining GDP, less that of Africa combined? And he's got a question as well around technology and about bringing in new levels of technology, or how technology has brought in new levels of consciousness across Africa as well, especially the African youth in general. So what does France even have to offer, or could France even, want to come to the table now to be offering Africans? So there's a few questions in there for you, my brother. Let me go over to Jermaine to answer a few of those points and questions. And in the meantime, I'll be looking through some more of your comments.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for all you guys watching across the continent and across the globe. These are the conversations that we need to be having. Ethiopia, I think the last I heard, the activity that was taking shape in Ethiopia was discussion on why Israel has an observer status as the AU. And incidentally, when that Zoom meeting was going on, the chair of that meeting, I understand, was Senegalese president, what's his name? You're close enough. The name is on my list. But anyway, it was the time that I'm sorry?
It's called Macky Sall.
Anyway, his name is on my list. Macky Sall, there you go. Macky Sall was chairing the meeting at the same time when Senegal was playing the finals with Egypt. And word has it that his concentration was like, no, when do we stop this to go watch football? And we're talking about discussing whether or not they should suspend Israel's observer status at the AU for now. And some countries were for, some countries were against. But it tells you that football was more important than that conversation. It gives you an idea of sometimes where our priorities are. Now, I can understand his team was in the finals, but look, if you ask me, that Israel observer status was more important. But that's just me. But I want to also take a moment to highlight the role of the African diaspora. Okay, this formed the basis of why I called my TV station Diaspora Network Television, because let me tell you something that we have a treasure trove out there in the diaspora, but we're not using it. I'll give you one key example. I was fortunate enough to be called in to mediate between an agency in my country and a company in the United States. And because I lived in the United States, because I know Americans and their tendencies and what can make them tick, through negotiations, I was able to save Ghana about over $3 million. Okay, now, if I were here on the continent, I would know certain things about them. I'll give you one example, and this one captures it all. A friend of mine who was part of the group that brought a company to Ghana to discover the first commercial quantity discovery of oil. It got to a point where their stake of 3.5% of the asset, they could lose it all, okay? And they owed money to the company. So the company offered them $16 million, walk away, you don't owe us anything. For a typical African, $16 million was a lot of money. Anybody that I've told this said, I would have taken it and run with it. The guy said, no, I'm not going to accept it. Then they upped it to $50 million. He said, no, I'm not taking it, 3.5%. It went as far as $150 million. he said he's not going to accept it. And by the way, he could lose it all in a few days. Do you know why? The conversation came down to this. He told them that you have filed your report, your Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States, that your assets in Ghana are worth $10 billion. So unless you're lying to the Securities and Exchange Commission, meaning 3.5% of $10 billion is 350 million. So unless we're talking in that range, maybe you don't even talk to me at all. And so now, how did he know that? He knows that because he's lived in the United States and knows how the system works. In the end, guess how much he ended up selling their stake? $305 million from $16 million. So now, do you see why the African diaspora, those of us who live in America, those who live in UK, those who live in France, and all these places, if the continent would use us in sitting down with people, if you ask me to sit in a conversation, in a negotiation with people from Australia, I would turn it down because I don't know them. I don't know anything about Australia. But when you're coming to the United States, if we're sitting in a room and the American does this, I know what he means by that. Okay? So why African countries don't use their diasporas to their benefit? And so we really have to look at the treasure trove that we have out there and the resources that we command. I'll say this. The people who obtained independence for African countries were mere students at the time. In the case of Ghana, they went to UK, Kwame Nkrumah went to the United States for education. When they returned, they were no different from someone who has just finished university, right? And yet look at how they were able to sit down and negotiate with the colonialists to obtain independence. Today, you have Africans who are running things. Right now, a Ghanaian is heading the cancer research organization somewhere in the United States. You have a Ghanaian as MP, and I'm sure you can say that about Gambians, Nigerians, all over the place. The African today who lives in the diaspora is far more influential in the country where he or she resides than those who came back to get independence for us. So if can chalk up such victory as monumental as obtaining independence from the colonial, can you imagine what today's African who live in the diaspora can do for the continent? And yet we're keeping them at bay and say, you stay there, come if you want to, but we're not going to roll the red carpet for you. But let a Chinese guy who just left prison and slapped on a suit fly into any country in Africa, we roll the red carpet for him to get whatever he wants. This is the type of change that needs to happen on this continent. A lot of us leave United States, diaspora, UK, high-paying jobs to come here and deal with water that's not flowing, light that is not consistent, roads that's riddled with potholes. It is a sacrifice. And yet, folks at home don't want us to come by and participate. I really don't understand it. It's almost that people want to be king of small rather than be part of a big. That needs to change on this continent.
And, do you see that change actually happening with the mindset of young people? I mean, is that the mindset of the older generation, but maybe things are changing now with the younger generation?
Yes. I'm glad you asked that question because Africa is still led mostly by people who grew up in the era that I discussed earlier when we said we saw the white man. No matter how much you're educated, you don't get rid of those type of inferiority complex easily. You may shed some of them, but some still remain, whereby if you sit with them, if you sit with white people, Chinese people, there is a measure of that, even if it's not noticeable, it's there. But African youth today don't have that problem. because they can see what Beyonce ate for breakfast. They can see they're so much connected directly with the diaspora. And so I don't get the sense that they have that sense of inferiority complex that those who grew up under during the colonial days have. And so I see the African youth today more equipped to go toe-to-toe with their colleagues from other parts of the world than the old Africans who are currently leading the continent. Again, I'm not painting the whole, because we have someone like my president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He also grew up in the colonial era. But here's a guy that can stand right in front of Macron and say, no, forget about coming to Guinea. Ghana beyond aid. We're working towards a point where we don't need aid. Okay? And he said it right in front of Macron. And in fact, I still have the picture of how Macron looked at him when he was saying that. And so, yes, you do have some of those older generation who have been able to shed that inferiority complex. But for the most part, it still exists today among some of the leaders. But the young folks don't have that, thankfully, because of the internet and how the internet has brought the world closer. So based on that, you can't help but have optimism for how the continent is going to deal with the problems in the future.
I look forward with optimism to the future as well, a new Africa. And, absolutely agree with you. I certainly also look forward to the day where Africa, or African leaders, and people in Africa generally, actually look to embrace the skills and experiences that we could potentially be bringing to the continent. And, we all want to see the best for Mama Africa. We want to see Mama Africa, shining even better, than the West. We want to bring, what we experience there to the continent, plus, adding on all of what the continent has to offer by utilizing its own resources in a way that's going to benefit the people of the continent as well. So let's go to the chat. Let's see what discussion is going on there. So we've got Sister Afro saying, you are right, Brother Jermaine. We have a treasure trove in the diaspora. This is because we have lived amongst the Caucasians, studied them, learned their tricks, and how and are running with it. So yes, we know them a lot better than our brothers and sisters on the continent know them. And we've studied within their institutions, worked within their institutions, their organizations, and we know how things are done there. And there's certainly a lot I feel that the diaspora is able to bring to the continent. So really looking forward to systems being put in place, new policies, new programs, new initiatives that can actually embrace the diaspora in a way so that we can feed back, that all of that intellectual loss and brain drain that the continent is experiencing, with all of the brightest and the most gifted of the continent on the continent looking to leave to go to America, Canada, or Europe with their intellectual knowledge, skills, and talents. So yes, we need to reverse that brain drain. I saw the brain drain being mentioned here in the chat. What does Kwame say? Kwame says Africa will never unite because we have the wrong leaders at the wrong time. I want you to address that, please, Brother Jermaine. Let me see one or two more in here. But this one saying, Q is saying, every country in Africa pays colonial tax in one way or another. Please don't forget the tragedy in South Africa. The bid to reclaim land has failed to pass in Parliament. I don't know if you're aware of that, Brother Jermaine. Was there a bill that had gone to Parliament to try and reclaim the land that the whites are holding on to in South Africa that belong to the Africans? This is a long-standing major problem that we've got in the southern region of Africa. Something like over 80% of the land in the hands of non-Africans. Let's hear your thoughts on that one as well. So do we have the wrong leaders in Africa at the moment. Is this why the citizens are taking it into their own hands to bring about regime change? Is this because, you know, democracy just doesn't work for Africans in Africa? Why we're seeing so many coup d'etats? And is that what it's going to take in South Africa to bring about the changes that the politicians seem unable or unwilling to make? What say you, please, Brother Jermaine?
South Africa is an interesting place. I interviewed a city official from Johannesburg, and he shed some light on the politics in South Africa that was concerning. I'll tell you this: South Africa has had 4 black presidents: Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, and then Zuma, and then Ramaphosa, right? Out of these 4, believe you me, the only one who was truly for the people, for his people, the black people, was Zuma. And he is the one who ended up in jail. Okay? Now, Nelson Mandela did a life sacrifice that none of us would be prepared to make. 27 years in jail was a lot of sacrifice. But you know what? If you've been in jail for that long and they take you, they release you, you have the popularity and everything to become president, but financially, you really don't have anything. There's a family in South Africa who I understand took him up to help him and everything. Very, very affluent. I've forgotten the name. But
is it the Guptas? Is it the Guptas? That name comes to mind. Guptas?
It sounds familiar. I think it's a Western name.
Oh, okay.
But they took him up.
Someone might know and post it in the chat.
If you know it, post it. They helped him, okay? But this family was like, they owned a big chunk of South Africa. And so a combination of Nelson Mandela, while he had a great heart to foster reconciliation and everything, when he got released to become president, his hands were tied in one way or another, okay? So I've talked to 2 people in South Africa, Africans, black Africans, who tell me without any equivocation whatsoever that Nelson Mandela was not as much for his people as the world saw him. You see what I mean? Now, again, he underwent some serious sacrifice and he came out. You credit him for reconciliation. Great. But of the 4 African leaders, black African leaders of South Africa in post-apartheid, Zuma, so the only one who was really, truly for his people. And he started to initiate policies to bridge the gap between the rich and poor. And guess what? They turned his own people against him. And so the politics in South Africa is very tricky. It's sort of like the politics in the world right now, okay? The West they wield a lot of power on the continent. And when you start to be very vocal about being your people, think about it. You meet with untimely deaths and stuff like that. Look at our past leaders, Kwame Nkrumah. Tell me which one of them lived a full life. All of them somehow met with untimely death, got overthrown or anything. And which brings me to the strategy that they say if you continue to do the same thing, I think it was is it Freud's statement, the definition of insanity is doing the same and expecting a different result. We love to stand on the platform and punch our fist in the air and tell about how the white man should go away, blah, 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 blah. All the while, as you're doing that, they are watching. They're like, okay, you can say your piece. We know what we're going to do. Okay? So we sit here and play defense about what's the white man going to do? What are the Chinese going to do for us? Do you think Emmanuel Macron spends 1 minute of his time worried about, oh, what are the Africans going to do to us? Does Boris Johnson think about that? Does Biden think about that? No, because we're playing defense all the time. So that's why the fight is on our turf. We've all watched football when a team is ahead 1-0 in the 20 minutes to go and they're playing defense. And they play so much defense that the other goalkeeper can come all the way and stand in the center field. And the ball is being played on their turf. That's what we're doing in Africa. Do we have a group of people who sit down in smoky rooms really thinking about Africa? What are we going to do to fight back? And we're not going to talk. Nobody knows our name. Okay. Do we have such a group? No, we don't. Because we all like the limelight. We will talk and make a name. Oh, do you know Jermaine Nkrumah? Oh, yes, that's what we want. But I'd like to see Africans gather around, form a think tank. Who are not known, nobody knows them, but they think of strategies to get us out of this doldrum. And these people should have the power to walk into Addis Ababa and slam a paper on the desk and say, Musa Faki, this is what we think should be done. We don't have a think tank. And so I think we need to change the strategy in Africa. The era of punching our face and being popular, the Sankara, Gaddafi, all these people are gone. Doesn't that tell us something? Okay. So I think we need to change strategy on this continent and do a lot more thinking. Okay. Functional thinking, strategic thinking, and then give it to those that we elect and have them go implement those ideas. That's my point.
Absolutely agree with you on that, my brother. We do need some more strategic thinkers and, people who are doing the operation in quiet rooms, smoke-filled rooms, so to speak, most definitely. And look what happens to those leaders that do come out and try and make change. So we need our own mercenaries on the ground who can protect our leaders, which leads me to ask the question, about the recent coups, if we can go back to that, in the West African regions. I think it was Brother Kwame had a question around that. Can you comment on the dynamics of the coups in Burkina Faso, Sudan? And he's wondering, whether France and the USA are actually behind some of these, or are they really being led by the people who are just totally dissatisfied with, the way things have been going? Because we know how these people play. As you've just said, they have their strategies, they have their plans. Is it as it appears, people power, or are the French, the Americans, or possibly other groups behind this? What are you?
I think it's people power in this case. I really, really do. The first one was in Mali, right? At least the recent ones, right? And in the case, and if you notice, all three of them, and even the fourth one in Guinea-Bissau, followed the same pattern. They start out being a military mutiny, okay? And then eventually they capture the head of state and then hold him, and at that time it's over. Now, I am proud to say this, that Diaspora Network Television have eyes and ears on the ground in these countries. And I'll give you an example.
Yes.
When Mali ordered 4 helicopters from France, Macron planned a trip to Mali. We knew, based on reports on the ground, that even the government officials who were negotiating the trip with their French colleagues were the ones fueling involved in the planning of demonstration against Macron when he gets there. Okay, so on the one hand, we say, oh yeah, we're going to control the boys, but they say no. When he gets there, give it to him. You see what I mean? We knew that. Now, we also knew, Diaspora Network Television, that Goita, Colonel Assimi Goita, did not want to meet with Macron Though he said, you can come, we can have bilateral meetings with a lot of people. But as far as one-on-one, me and you sitting down, no. And guess what? No Western media covered that. No Western media put that out.
Right.
Diaspora Network Television put it out, just with a missing no word. And the headline was, Goita refuses to meet with Macron on his planned trip to Mali. You know why we can say that, but CNN, BBC, and Al Jazeera won't do it? They say because it's disrespectful. You see what I mean? Now, when we put that message out, within 2 hours, Macron cancels the trip. They cited something about COVID. The main reason was COVID related. But we were pleased to notice that underneath the very last line of the statement read, arrangement to meet with Colonel Assimi Goita was not going well anyway. They admitted that was it. They admitted something that the Western media won't say. So I'm using this to say this. Diaspora Network Television is positioning itself to be the mouthpiece of a truly united Africa and the diaspora. We mean that very, very seriously. Okay? We will say what needs to be said. We will tell our story. We cannot wait until somebody else tells our story. 2 of the 3 coups that happened in West Africa, we reported it first. The one in Guinea, the one in Mali. Do you know why? Because on the ground, we knew that it was a coup d'etat. But when we put out the message that coup d'etat has happened, we checked all the Western media, and all of them were still reporting gunshots heard around the capital. And so, look, we have what it takes to tell our own story. We don't need someone. They've been telling our story for centuries. Is there any wonder that we fight against ourselves? Is there any wonder that as dark as I am, I have in my head that a lighter skinned woman is superior to a darker skinned woman, and we do this without thinking? Okay, because they've sabotaged. I mean, they've sabotaged the narrative, and they are telling the stories, and we're following it. And I'm telling you, Diaspora Network Television, with our 46 global correspondents, we are going to tell our story. When a Congolese student is murdered in Ukraine, it's not going. Al Jazeera is not going to report it. CNN is not going to report it, but Diaspora Network Television will report it. And I can tell you, when that happened, the woman who murdered the young man was taken to court, which is something that had never happened in Ukraine. Apparently, they were killing our boys there, and nobody was doing anything about it. And so Africa is poised to take off. We just need to take ourselves seriously. That's why I take your show very seriously, because you're a sister and you're trying to put out Pan-African stories. And I encourage everybody watching that let's take ourselves seriously. It shouldn't be that I'm walking to a restaurant and in Ghana, and a security guy greets me, oh, hello, sir. I said, fine. And then I open the door, I enter the restaurant. But 5 steps behind me, a white couple is coming. The same security guy greets them, hello, and then proceeds to open the door for them. Why couldn't he open the door for me? Or why couldn't they also open their own door? It tells you about the subtle thing that we have planted in our head, that other people are superior. I'm not saying give me better service, but let's respect ourselves.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be that a Zambian guy and his Chinese girlfriend going to a Chinese facility in Lusaka, on the continent of Africa, and they stop him and say, your Chinese girlfriend can enter, but you cannot enter. I mean, what are we doing to ourselves? So if these things are fine with everybody, I'm sorry, for some of us, it's not fine. So it's time for us to stand up and be counted.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are winding down now, but let me bring in a few more comments from the chat. Let's see what we've got in the house and what our brothers and sisters are actually saying. First time is saying, greetings from Chicago, USA. Give thanks to the Most High Creator for all the creation, the judge and the juror, the only one worthy of worshiping. Okay, rise up, first time. Welcome, welcome to Jamaican Jungle. Oh, what's happened? Let me just see if I lost my guest. Yeah, oh wow, my brother Jermaine, I just seems to have lost you. Hopefully you're going to be coming right back. Right, Jamaica Janko was saying democracy will not work in Africa because they align the political parties based on the tribes. In Malawi, many political parties are tribal. Now, that is definitely something that has been keeping us divided for centuries. You know, our operations on a tribal basis. We have got to move beyond that. Divide and rule, that old tactic should not find any place amongst us today. First time saying, I always like Sister Shanisha. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're glad to be black. Got a fantastic lineup of new guests and a new format, but we are still going to be having our panel debates as well. We'll probably have those on a monthly basis because I know many of you have been saying don't lose that format as well. Okay, we've got a comment here on Nelson Mandela. Let me just see if we've got our brother Jermaine back. Great to have you, Black, my brother. I was a bit worried for a minute. So, Sister Pajama is saying, well, Africa Reimagined, first of all, said they brought out Mandela and he sold the people. You know, those are my sentiments, to be honest. He should never have left Winnie Mandela. Winnie Mandela, if she was allowed to rule from behind him, it would have been a very, very, very different South Africa today. But Afajamo is saying that it was not the fault of Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, whilst he was in prison, they slowly poisoned him. This was not the real Nelson Mandela who came out. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people say that he went in a lion and he came out a pussycat. Yes, I've heard that one too. And the Jamaican Junko says we must still push forward regardless of the obstacles we face. Also, in order for the whites to do what they do, they recruit from the same group that they oppress. Absolutely true. I mean, they wouldn't be able to achieve half as much, not even a fraction of what they're able to achieve on the continent if they weren't able to work through people who look just like us. Okay, now time to wind down. I'm sure my guest, is parched by now, and I don't want to tire him out too much. So grateful. So let me ask you, please, to just comment on a few of those suggestions, comments in the chat, my brother Jermaine, as we wind down, and then I'd like to wind down with you commenting on this really great, interesting story from Burkina Faso about the recent decision in the Thomas Sankara case. But before we go there, let me ask you to comment on some of the suggestions in the chat, please.
Yes, the notable ones about recruiting from our own, and quite frankly, I think that's a more difficult position we find ourselves in, because no matter what, even the close group that I mentioned, that I advocate that these people should be in, think tank and everything, you will always find that Judas in there. You will always find that traitor who would go and sell that information for money, which is really peanuts if you put in the context of what they destroyed. So that's something that we have to deal with. And the way I feel like we should do it, it's not something that you can say in the public space, but if we're really serious, we really have to look at these things, okay? And look, when we talk about Africa, what does Africa mean to you? What does Africa mean to you? I'll tell you a story. When I was and I know our time is, when I was 11 in 1970, there was an all-African university games at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, which is a campus that I grew up in. So boys in the area, we came, the opening ceremony, we were playing and everything. But I was captivated because for the first time, the Gambian that I have read in the books, the Tanzanian, the Sudanese, the Senegalese, I was seeing them live in their opening ceremony, holding their flag, University of Nairobi and all those things. And I'm like, wow. So I stood there and I'm like, these people look like the folks that I play with in my community. So why are they called Tanzanians and I'm called Ghanaian? And I'm, as a youngster, I stood there captivated. And to be honest with you, for me, that's where it started. And I'm hoping that everybody on this continent will get that moment. It's very liberating, where you can truly, truly, truly see the person who look like you as your brother and your sister. Okay? We go out there and complain about white racism. But then we come home and the tribalism is even worse than racism. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? And so for me, someone who I believe I'm blessed with a true ability to see you, not as a Gambian, but as a sister, you have no idea how liberating it is. Okay? And so within my country, if you come to me and say, oh, this man is God, this man, oh man, you lose me very, very quickly. Because you know what? He bleeds like you do, breathes like you do. Okay? And he's facing the same global challenge that you do. Have you ever seen the video of two deer fighting and the lion was approaching and they couldn't see him, and when they saw him, it was too late? That is a powerful image that every African should learn from. As we're fighting, they are approaching and taking, and we're not known. And so when we talk about African unity, we shouldn't put it just on our lips. We have to be serious with it and then work towards it. Because a united Africa, there's nobody alive who doesn't believe that a united Africa will rule the world. And there are people who know that, so they'll do whatever it takes to stop that from happening. And so if we allow them to overcome, if we allow them to achieve their objective of keeping us separate, instead of us achieving our objective of uniting, then the problem is more on us than it is on them. And so on this note, I'd like to say, I thank you really for inviting me. I thank you for giving me the platform to talk about my TV station, which is on the multi-TV platform. If you own a satellite television, you can get us all across sub-Saharan Africa. And if you don't, wherever you are, you can download our app, DNT, Diaspora Network Television. Our app can be found on Google Store and Apple Store. When you download us, you can watch us live. Everything we show here, you can watch us all across the continent. And our web portal is www.dntghana.com. Okay, so www.dntghana.com. Visit our news portal. We have domestic headlines, we have international airlines. That's your mouthpiece for African unity and diaspora reintegration. Thank you, my sister.
Absolutely beautiful. And I wonder, do you have an email address? So if someone wants to send you some news stories, videos, etc., I've got someone in the chat asking if you could cover the situation in Sudan as well, and what the military are doing over there. So if they want to send you stories, they want to send you video evidence of what's going on, is there an email address that you would like to leave?
Yes, the email I use info@dntghana.com. But I must admit, even though we have that, the one that we check very closely is JJ Nkrumah The Nkrumah is without an H at the end. So it's jjnkruma@gmail.com. If you send me the news from everywhere, because again, we have to tell our own story. We have people in Kinshasa, Johannesburg, Cameroon, Nigeria, Liberia, Senegal. In fact, funny thing, when the Senegalese won the championship, within 10 minutes, we had it on our website how they were celebrating. In fact, less than about 5 minutes, we had videos from the street and pictures and everything. That's what we get. Why should we wait for Al Jazeera or BBC to tell us that story when DNT can tell it? And so wherever you're watching, please use that email. And if you want to send us WhatsApp, it's +1713 240 2164. Again, +1713 240 2164. If you send us material through these two channels, the email address I gave and the WhatsApp, you'll be our best friend forever. Okay.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Our own, very own platform. And you asked the question, what does Africa, mean for us, and mean to me? Well, the whole world was Africa at one time. We owned the world. We populated the entire globe. But because of our infighting, as you've described, the situation of the two deers, those who don't look like us, stood aside. And once we'd torn each other to pieces, they were able to come in and take over and finish us off. And so one time we had Africans who had populated America, Europe, Australia, Canada. Africans have populated the globe, but to look at those parts of the world now, you wouldn't believe that we were the indigenous people of those regions. All we have left now is Mama Africa. And if we don't wake up and protect Africa in the way that she needs to be protected, then as we can see from what's already happened in the southern region of Africa and in the northern region of Africa, in a few centuries, we might be history like the original Africans of the Americas or the other parts of the world where we are no more. So Africa is all we've got left, and every single one of us need to look after Mama Africa in any way we can, with all of our skills, all of our talent, and all of our energy. And we have to stop the infighting and come together as one in order to protect Mama Africa and our future on this planet. Otherwise, we will become extinct, just like the many other groups of Africans in the other parts of the world, which are now extinct. So Africa is everything. Brother Jermaine, let me give you a final word.
I just wanted to add one quick thing about taking care of our land. And I want you to look at satellite pictures of, say, 50 years ago, satellite pictures of now. You see that the Sahara Desert is creeping downwards, southward, because we're cutting down trees. We're selling land to foreigners to cut down our trees and take the lumber away. I've never been on a desert before, but I heard it's very, very, very treacherous. And so if we're not planting trees and we're cutting down what we already have, very soon the Sahara will come and suppress it where you only have Congo, where the forest is. Now, the whole world is now looking at Africa because this is where the dense forests is located. Amazon is starting, parts of it, a huge part of it burned down. And so when you talk about a good chunk of forest, which help with the climate change, is situated in Africa. So it's disheartening to see chiefs selling land for Chinese and other people to cut down the land. We need to start, in addition to unity and all that, we need to take care of the environment.
Yes.
That's critical to preserve our continent.
Absolutely agree with you on that. So much more could be said, but we do need to wrap up for now. So family, I want to thank you so much for joining us for the relaunch of the Sister Shanice Show. Brother Jermaine, there was a request asking you to post your details in the chat. So please do that. Even afterwards, you can go to the Sister Shanice Show channel, and I will pin your details at the top. If you post it under the video. And everyone watching, yeah, please do comment on the video in YouTube itself. And remember, from Next Strong, we are going to be here on Wednesday. So we're going back to every Wednesday at 8 p.m. All righty, from Next Strong, when we've got another really interesting topic for discussion and guests that's going to be coming to you. Let me see if I can quickly tell you who our guest is that we've lined up for Next Strong. We have coming to you our brother Ras Aswad Nkrabia. He is a native from Jamaica who has settled in Ghana. And wow, what a experienced and background he has that he is going to be bringing to us Next Strong. So we've got another really interesting discussion that's coming up Next Strong. And I did say, actually, I was going to give you a moment just to say a few words on that case, that landmark.
Oh, yes. A court in Burkina Faso convicted former President Marc Roch Compaoré for the assassination of Thomas Sankara some 24 years ago. And they gave him 30 years in jail. And so he's currently in exile in Burkina Faso. Now, whether President Ouattara of Cote d'Ivoire, he's Cote d'Ivoire, he's in exile in Cote d'Ivoire. Whether President Ouattara would extradite him to Burkina Faso to serve his term remains to be seen. But right now, he's duly convicted along with some of his former officials who killed Sankara, who was an enigmatic young leader of Burkina Faso. A coup in 1987 removed him and killed him. And so that's the news. And when we send this out, you should see the feedback. Everybody's like, good for him. I mean, people are really jubilating. And he deserves every year of that sentence.
Yeah, it was a long time coming, but justice finally caught up with him. Yes, it's a very good note to end on. I also want to thank our brother Kwame as well, who's been assisting me behind the scenes. Thank you so much, brother Kwame. Let's hear your voice. Let's see you. Brother Kwame, give us a wave if you can. Thank you so much for your assistance. Brother Jermaine, you're doing a phenomenal job out there. And yeah, this is us taking back control of our narrative, which is important.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for having me. And you know what? More so introducing me to this. This is very, very nice. And to think that it was created by a brother, look how clear it is. What's it? Blue VP.
Blue VP.
Blue VP. If you're watching this and you like it, really start to patronize the brother. It's a phenomenon. This looks good. I am impressed.
It's been working really well for us this evening, and once you get used to it, it is the features on here are phenomenal. And as I get used to it in time, I'll introduce some new features. Brother Jermaine, thank you so much to everyone in the chat that's been watching us live. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do share this video so that everybody knows that we are back. To all of our wonderful viewers, those of you who have been communicating in the chats, thank you so much. We see you next Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. live. Sister Shanice out of here for now. Rise up, family. One love. One love.
Thank you. One love. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.